corruption, hypocrisy, greed. What the Pandora Papers expose about the super rich is that it's not about whether you're Democrat or Republican. It's not about whether you're black or white. It's not about whether you're from the North or South. What it's about is whether you have $50 million to put in an offshore bank account and not pay taxes on. Because it turns out we have 2.94 terabytes to prove what I could have told you in about 3 seconds.
It's a big club, and you ain't in it.
Listen, guys, welcome to the $10 million studio. You know the saying, okay? We have been playing checkers while the super rich have been playing offshore tax evasion. I'm not going to go into all the details of the Pandora Papers. As you guys probably know, it's the third installment from the ICIJ, International Consortium. Bunch of journalists working super hard to do a ton of work that you should go read the original source material of. I'm just going to tell you the big high-level takeaways, okay? Because I'm not here to read 2.94 terabytes for you, okay? I'm going to be here a long time if I try to do that. Instead, what I'm going to tell you are the high-level details. And then, guys, do your civic duty and go read it. Or do what everyone else does and don't. But I think you should know this. Basically, the Pandora Papers is just a continuation of what we've kind of known for a while from these ICIJ guys. As I said, third installment, Panama Papers, Paradise Papers. Maybe you've heard of it. A bunch of people lost their jobs. A journalist even got fired for leaking this information. It just exposed the super rich did sort of what we knew they were doing all along. They aren't paying taxes, ladies and gentlemen. That's right, left or right, apparently, when you pass a certain threshold of wealth, you become violently allergic to paying taxes. Because it's not just the guys on the right who are all about low taxes that aren't paying. It's everybody. It's not just the people who are for corruption. You know, those pro-corruption politicians that always come out there and put their platform on pro-corruption. It's not just those guys that are hiding their money illegally. It's actually sort of everybody. Take, for instance, this man, the Czech Prime Minister Andrej Babis. He promised to fight tax evasion and increase transparency. And surprise, surprise, the man evaded taxes himself. Apparently, in 2009, he bought a French estate through shell companies in tax havens. But that's okay, because when in France, buy an offshore French estate. I don't know. This man's so rich, they're even calling it a chateau at this point, dude. You're not even in a mansion. It's a chateau. Of course, he didn't disclose it. Didn't appear on his taxes. So, they asked him about it, and he declines to answer. But it's not just the Czech prime minister who sucks. Turns out everyone sort of does. Jordan's king, Abdullah, apparently also is a guy who promised to end corruption. That's the funniest thing a politician could ever say. They always end up, surprise, surprise, corrupt. Anyways, apparently he, while Daddy USA was pouring financial aid in, he was funneling it back out to a bunch of property. Yeah, while we were spending money on him, he was spending money on us, accumulating a luxury hotel empire to rival the Hiltons. I mean, this man was spending money like no tomorrow, all the while getting up on his pedestal and preaching how people need to stop being corrupt. I mean, how do these people honestly live? I really do believe. I mean, I know this is crazy. This is tinfoil. This is not true. But I believe that politicians are a different breed of human. How can you stand up on a stage and say, hey, we need to stop tax evasion. We need to stop corruption. All the while, you got the guys going out and buying these secret tax haven properties for you. It's completely insane. And if you'd like proof of that, we also have the Kenyan president as well, flexing the weird lies that only politicians seem uniquely capable of. Listen to what this joker said. It is time to get tough on those who seek to use positions of power for their own personal gain. This guy said, this is the anti-corruption hero of Kenya. Now, of course, this man who's against using his personal position of power for personal gain somehow is the richest man in all of Kenya, which is kind of hilarious. You can see it right here. He's literally the Bill Gates over there. But yeah, he's against corruption. And of course, it turns out, surprise, surprise, the man is buying up offshore islands, offshore private villas, you know, probably some chateaus to get in there with it. It's like they can't help themselves. They're incapable when they get in positions of power of just, I put my hand in the cookie jar. But finally, we get to see them unmasked for what they are. That's why these files are so important and why these people are absolutely crapping themselves right now. I mean, look, let me be honest with you guys. People like this, people with this much money, they don't have a lot of problems. Just gonna, anyone who told you that money doesn't solve any problems, it's not true. They're sitting there on their little French chateau drinking some wine. But you know what does make them actually worry? The one thing that does is this kind of stuff. When the rest of the world gets to see them with their pants down and gets to see once and for all how corrupt these jokers are, left, right, front, center. And honestly, it's unbelievable to me that these people expect the rest of us to pay our fair share of taxes, while these guys with way more money can't even do it. Even the politicians don't pay their taxes. The politicians who preach at you of paying your fair share, or say that the super wealthy need to pay their fair share while they own like 20 private islands. I mean, I don't want to be too doomer about this, but I really do not believe that many people in this report are going to go to jail. Maybe that's a little cynical, but it just always seems like these guys always slink out untouched. All of a sudden, you know, because when you're rich, is it really a crime? Is it really a problem? And you know what I think is most telling about these types of investigations, which I really do believe are deeply important, right? But what I think is that a lot of times not much happens from these. Sure, a few people's heads might roll. Yeah, like, you know, people might lose their job and stuff, but very, very rarely do any of these people go to jail for what they've done. Very rarely do we ever arrest anybody. Why? Because suddenly when it's a super rich person having to deal with another super rich person and locking them up, all of a sudden that sounds crazy. It's crazy to think that we'd ever criminally punish any of these people for what they've done. They're sort of the legal crooks, if you will. But meanwhile, you know, a poor person steals from a gas station. Everybody loses their mind, right? That's what we got to crack down on. Throw that guy in jail for 2,000 years. But all of a sudden, you steal money from the government. You steal money that way, this offshore way. You're rich. Dude, don't worry about it, dude. We got your back. It's so telling. The super rich protect the super rich. That's just the way of the world. So I'm just going to go out and say it. My takeaway from this whole thing was that, yes, the super rich are not paying their taxes. Surprise, surprise. But even more than that, I think what this really exposes is that this isn't about whether you voted red or blue, whether your boy's going to show up on these tax havens. It's about how much money you got on your checkbook. So I don't know if people are ever going to wake up and realize that the game is rigged, but it is. Because the same thing we saw them doing in 2016 is the same thing we find them doing a few years later, and it's the same thing we find them doing today. So if you think this is going to stop, I don't know, you might have another thing coming. But I do have to give a huge congratulations to the journalists who got this published. This is true journalist work. I am very proud that we still have people who are this willing to put their lives on the line of releasing this stuff, because it is absolutely dangerous to leak this sensitive of documents about this powerful of people. And the fact that a team of journalists got together and worked on this stuff, I think is a true testimony that we do still have some hope. I mean, yes, it is a little black pill, but the fact this stuff still gets out there, still does have some impact, is at least what warms my heart at night. So that's basically it. I just want to do a quick reaction to this because I saw it go live. I knew you guys would wonder what the internet detective thinks about corruption at this magnitude. And yeah, it's kind of weird. It's kind of like a legal kind of scamming is what you ultimately find. We usually talk about illegal scamming, but there's very illegal scamming going on as well. And you can look no further than the Pandora Papers. Maybe we'll do a few stories on it as more of them come out. But with that said, thanks for watching. I will see you guys in the next one.
All the promises you made, all the kids you said you'd save, but what a shame, you're a fraud. Are you the same as who you're saying? No, you're